Good evening, and welcome to our special presentation, Storm Warning, Preparing for Tornado Season. Tonight, in accordance with Tornado Preparedness Day in Virginia, we want to get you as ready as possible for this severe weather season. In addition to providing safety tips, we want to let you know how we get the information and how we pass it on to you. That way, you can make the best possible decision regarding the safety of you and your family. But first, meteorologist Lindsay Tapasa steps back and looks more closely at tornadoes in Virginia.
Now, tornadoes have been documented in all 50 of the United States. However, the ingredients to form tornadoes come together a little better and more often in certain regions of the country. This is true also for the Commonwealth of Virginia. I took a trip to Halifax County, which has been hit a handful of times over the past few years, especially near Virgilina. More tornadoes occur in the United States than in any other country of the world, averaging over 1,000 per year. This is due to a couple of factors, including our location on the globe and the geography of our landscape. The majority of the country is located between 30 degrees and 50 degrees north latitude. This region is often the battleground where cold air masses from the North Pole will collide with warmer air masses from the tropics. Our terrain is also relatively flat, especially across the Great Plains. This is where tornadoes occur most often and has thus been dubbed Tornado Alley. While the states that make up Tornado Alley may average 40, 60, or even 80 tornadoes per year, here in Virginia, the number is a much lower 10 per year. The topography of our state varies greatly. From mountains to valleys, we have it all. This plays a role in where tornadoes are most likely to develop. A study done by our local National Weather Service office in Blacksburg found that between 1950 and 2005, on average, a tornado is more than twice as likely to occur east of the Blue Ridge than west. And of those that do occur, the majority are found along and just south of the Virginia and North Carolina border. There have been 4 tornadoes that have passed very close to Virgilina near the state line, including an EF2 that passed right through this area in April of last year. In the New River Valley, tornadoes are extremely rare. Dating back to 1950, no tornadoes had ever been documented in Pulaski, and longer-term historical records indicated no strong tornadoes had ever occurred in Pulaski or neighboring counties. Of course, these statistics had to be rewritten in April of last year. The lesson to take home from Pulaski is that tornadoes, and even strong tornadoes, may still occur where they are not climatologically favored. The Blacksburg County warning area, which includes southeast West Virginia, southwest Virginia, and northwest North Carolina, averages just over 2 tornadoes per year. Fortunately, strong and violent tornadoes are not common for our area. Since 1950, no violent tornado has ever been documented in the Blacksburg County warning area. Roughly 75% of the tornadoes we see are classified as weak, with 25% classified as strong. As you can see, though, by the massive tree that has been uprooted behind me, strong tornadoes can still cause much destruction. And now the favored time period for formation is between April and July, with a secondary maximum of tornadoes in September due to tropical systems. April is the most favored month for seeing a strong tornado, with close to half of all tornadoes during that month being strong. Now, coming up next, meteorologist Mike Goldberg explores the formation of tornadoes, what happens in the atmosphere that allows twisters to form, and what you should look for if you believe a tornado threatens you and your family.
Visual and audio clues of an approaching tornado can come very quickly. James Rivas writes, "I have always heard that a tornado sounds like a freight train coming. How close does the tornado have to be before you would hear it from inside your house? In reality, you may only have a few seconds, which is why it is especially important to be aware of your surroundings."
A severe weather outbreak often produces what we call supercell thunderstorms. These storms feed on a contrast of warm, moist air near the surface and cool, dense air from above. They have a deep rotating updraft which can produce strong downbursts, large hail, and tornadoes. The area of strong rotation in a supercell thunderstorm is known as a mesocyclone. Rising air in the updraft of the storm tilts the rotating air from horizontal to vertical. This is how a tornado forms. It is first known as a funnel cloud, which then picks up swirling debris and makes the circulation visible. When it comes into contact with the ground, it is then referred to as a tornado. So what are the signs of a possible tornado? Watch for strong, persistent rotation in the cloud base. Heavy rain or hail followed by a calm or an intense wind shift can often indicate a tornado is about to occur. Also, listen for a loud, continuous roar that lasts longer than the typical rumble of thunder. Don't expect a tornado to be as obvious as those in the Midwest and the plains.
In the eastern part of the United States, especially the mid-Atlantic region where we live, most of the supercell storms, the rotating thunderstorms that produce tornadoes, are high precipitation supercells that produce a lot of rain. And as that thunderstorm rotates, it wraps that rain around the entire part of the storm, masking the view of the funnel cloud and tornado. So many times you will not know that there's a tornado approaching until it's right on top of you.
The National Weather Service has a network of storm spotters and emergency managers that report severe weather. After receiving reports of tornadoes, they send out a survey team of meteorologists to look over the damage. They can then actually determine whether a tornado occurred and estimate the wind speed based on the extent of the damage. The survey team takes into account the types of structures affected and the degree of damage to determine the wind estimate. A rating is then assigned based on the enhanced Fujita scale, which runs from EF0 to EF5. 69% of all tornadoes are rated either EF0 or EF1. The most devastating storms are EF4 and EF5 tornadoes. These violent storms represent less than 2% of all reported tornadoes. In fact, there has never been an EF4 or EF5 tornado documented in our area. The recent Henryville, Indiana tornado was an EF4 storm with estimated winds between 166 and 200 miles per hour.
Up next, Sean goes inside and gathers the data to determine how we monitor the atmosphere in real time and examines how the decisions are made to issue a tornado watch or, when the threat is more immediate, a tornado warning.
Watches versus warnings. The difference is still elusive. Michael Cook asks, when you as meteorologists see rotation on radar, is that when you call for a watch? Well, a watch comes in a few hours before rotation is detected. And before that, data must be gathered, and we need to evaluate the severity of the threat. And when the threat gets close, we depend on Doppler radar. It has been watching the sky over the heart of Virginia since August 1995. The National Weather Service's Doppler radar sits just off of Coles Knob Road in northern Floyd County. It replaced the Weather Service's old radar in Volans, decommissioned the following December. The Floyd County radar is still going strong, constantly sending out waves. Those waves bounce off rain, snow, and ice. And depending on how those targets move, the return waves can be stretched or compressed. This tells us if a target is moving toward or away from the radar. By detecting these motions, we can figure out if there is a circulation inside the storm, which may produce a tornado. But to find out if conditions are even favorable for tornadoes to begin with, we need to know what the winds are doing higher in the atmosphere. So twice a day, National Weather Service offices across the country, like ours in Blacksburg, launch radio sondes. A radio sonde is a packet of instruments telling us pressure, temperature, and humidity. And by tracking it with GPS, we can tell what the wind velocity is as it rises.
This dude wants to fly.
Helium fills the balloon, so it rises quickly.
All right, off we go.
As it radios back data, we can determine if there is enough spin in the atmosphere to produce tornadoes. Once the data is in, National Weather Service meteorologists work together to determine if there is a threat. The Storm Prediction Center coordinates with the local offices to determine if a tornado watch is warranted. If a tornado warning is issued after the watch, the local office will be the one to issue it. No case is ever clear-cut.
There's no magical thresholds that we will wait for, but there are certain guidelines that we all use. But it comes down to ultimately each individual's decision based on their knowledge of the situation, whether they need to pull the warning trigger.
The network of Doppler radars is now being upgraded across the country. The new technology is called dual polarization. Conventional Doppler radar only scans in the horizontal, but
the first thing is, the reason it's called dual polarization is it also scans with a vertical wavelength. So you got horizontal and vertical, thus the dual polarization. And by doing that, we can now see the horizontal dimensions of the particles as well as the vertical dimensions.
And we could find out what type of precipitation may be in the clouds. And in limited cases, it can tell us if a tornado is on the ground.
But if you have debris that's being picked up on the ground by a tornado and carried into the air, there are certain signatures that the dual polarization can detect.
The upgrade is already complete on the radars in Wakefield, Virginia and Sterling, Virginia. It is scheduled for the Floyd County radar this October. And coming up, meteorologist Matt Ferguson shows how we get the most critical information out to you and the technology that is helping narrow the focus on issuing tornado warnings.
Tornadoes and severe thunderstorms are at least worrisome. Helen Haskins asks what happens to those who cannot afford to get weather information on smartphones. Well, you can buy a weather radio. It's about $15 and it will alert you when a warning is issued for your area. Here's a complete look at the tools we use and what the data means as it moves across your screen. When nature becomes its most destructive, technology has come a long way in keeping you ahead of the storm. We are here in the weather office to give you a behind-the-scenes look at how we forecast and track severe weather right here at ABC 13. Each morning, I start my morning in the forecasting phase by taking a look at the satellite radar composite, showing areas of precipitation and clouds, and also take a look at the temperature profile across the nation, showing areas of cold and warm. And next, we use several computer models that help us forecast the weather and give us an idea of what the weather will be for the days to come. These models have severe weather parameters that will alert us when the atmosphere is conducive for damaging thunderstorms. Our weather team can many times give you advance warning that severe weather is possible in the days ahead. Usually several hours before dangerous storms develop, NOAA's Storm Prediction Center will issue either tornado or severe thunderstorm watches, meaning watch out, they are possible. When severe thunderstorms and tornadoes form, the most vital tool we have is pinpoint Doppler radar, where we can track the storms across our region. Street level mapping allows us to zoom right down to your neighborhood. When you see our radar on your TV, storm reflectivity can be shaded from light green, meaning light rain, to yellow, showing moderate rain, to red, indicating heavy rain or perhaps hail. Our pinpoint Doppler radar can also show you what cities are next in line for bad weather and the time you can expect it to arrive. Something a bit more technical is velocity mode on Doppler radar. This indicates rotation within thunderstorms and the speed of the spinning wind. Green shows wind moving toward the radar, and red shows wind moving away from the radar. When these two colors are side by side, we have spiraling winds, which could mean a tornado has formed or one could form soon. We also have the technology to detect lightning in and around storms. When you see lightning bolts displayed on the screen, this is an actual bolt that has been detected and displayed on the map where the lightning struck. The more lightning within a storm, the more powerful it can be. On WSCT.com or on your mobile device, we have up-to-date radar and weather warnings at your fingertips. This allows you to track storms moving through your neighborhood anytime, day or night. And up next, the weather team discusses tornado safety issues, including the difficult decision of what to do if you're in a mobile or manufactured home.
The most common question we get on tornado safety is some variation of this. What do you do if you live in a mobile home during a tornado warning, but the nearest sturdy shelter is more than 30 minutes away from your home? Well, if at all possible, don't put yourself in that situation. If a tornado watch is issued, that means the threat is still a few hours away. And that, of course, is the time to gather your things and plan on spending time with a friend or family member who lives in a structure with a much stronger foundation. Matt, however, that question is still not an easy one to answer.
Not at all. While being in a mobile home is dangerous, it's still very dangerous to be outside. Even if you are not close to the tornado, debris spinning out of the tornado could severely injure you.
Yeah, Matt, and there's still a common misconception that tornadoes will pick you up and carry you away if you were outside, but that's true only of the larger tornadoes. The ones that typically form in Virginia really don't have quite that much strength.
And Lindsay, the best thing to do is to leave ahead of time. When that tornado watch is issued, you normally have a couple of hours to prepare. That is when you should go to a friend's house, a community center, or a church, essentially someplace with a secure foundation, and stay there until the tornado watch expires.
But of course, what if you are in a mobile home when that warning is issued? If you can get to a more sturdy structure within 1 to 2 minutes, abandon the mobile home and head for that shelter. But if you cannot get there quickly, the safer course of action is to move to the innermost part of the home, get beneath some sturdy furniture, and cover your head with pillows or blankets. Leesville Road Elementary School takes part in the statewide tornado drill every year. Principal Amy Hunley has a plan in place.
If we're under severe weather warning, we have procedures in place that we would move our students to a secure location in the building.
Having the students in the halls puts more walls between them and the outside, making it more difficult for flying debris to reach them. Raising awareness starts early. We visit schools and talk about safety. A watch means conditions are favorable for storm formation. Or for the students,
Tornado watch means, you know what? We sent up the balloon, we saw that the wind is doing that up there, and it's doing this down here. We need to watch because when the storms come later on, they might start to make tornadoes.
So a watch means you should plan a course of action. When a warning is issued, put that plan of action into place.
One of the most important rules to remember regarding tornado safety is to get as low to the ground as possible. This cuts down on the threat that you're going to be impacted by flying debris. A basement or interior crawl space is always best. Whenever possible, get into a location with some reinforced ceiling areas, with pipes or perhaps beneath a flight of stairs. And if there's time, grab some blankets or pillows, put them over top of your head and neck, just in case you are hit by any kind of flying debris.
I sat down with Phil Heisel, morning coordination meteorologist at the National Weather Service office in Blacksburg. He has some advice if you are trapped in a car.
Most people are injured or killed from tornadoes due to flying debris, and I don't know how many times I've seen from tornado surveys car windshields that are broken from debris that has flown through the windows. You want to make sure that you're protected from that flying debris. If you get underneath that dashboard, at the very least you'll be protected from the glass that may break if the debris goes through your car.
But being outside is even worse.
We still see a lot of people seek shelter underneath highway overpasses. That's a very dangerous place to be. That is not a safe place. Again, those winds are funneled through there at a faster rate of speed. You're putting yourself at a higher risk.
So remember, get inside as low as you can and away from windows. If you live in a mobile home, it is a good idea to leave it ahead of time when a tornado watch is issued. While being in a mobile home puts you at great risk, being outside during a tornado is worse. So, unless you can get to a more sturdy structure within a minute or two, you are better off staying put.
You can also subscribe to ABC 13 Weather Call, and we can contact you if a warning is issued for your area. And new this year, a lightning notification service, and these services are as little as $9.95 per year. Thanks for joining us. Remember to be weather aware, plan ahead, and be safe.